Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface-level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind-the-scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the three hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and I, we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from three very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Dev Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production podcast network. We hope to see you online.
Welcome to Rank It on Bass, an offhanded joke that became a short-lived podcast. I'm your host, Mike White. Joining me is an elf who wants to be a dentist, Chris Stashew.
I'm actually just recast as Carson Kressley, so it's okay. I'm actually an elf who wanted to be a dentist, but now wants to be a fashion designer.
Also along for the ride is Snow Miser, Richard Haddam.
Well, I guess that makes me Michael McKean, so I'm going to consider myself lucky in this case.
Yeah, thank God you're not Harvey Fierstein. Jesus H. Christ.
On this podcast, we usually discuss the works of Arthur Rankin Jr. and Jules Bass, specifically some of their stop-motion and animated Christmas work, though on this episode, we were talking about the return of the Miser Brothers in a live-action remake of The Year Without a Santa Claus and The Miser Brothers Christmas. Spoiler alert, I didn't hate these. I was very surprised that I didn't hate with all of my heart both of these things.
Double spoiler alert. I also did not hate these. Not as much as I thought I was going to. And Mike, to be fair, in regards to a Miser Brothers Christmas, it's still being made by the company that owns the rights to Rankin and Bass. So I guess a Miser Brothers Christmas is kind of canon. Yes,
maybe.
Well, is it though? I mean,
I don't know. A Year Without a Santa Claus is not canon. That's for damn sure.
But were these guys, like it looked, first of all, they were not mentioned as executive producers of either of these things. So I don't know if they got some money, some royalties, some some sort of kickback for using these characters. Rankin and Bass must have gotten something, although it's very clear this is not from. I mean, I don't think even with the one that's not live action, I don't think there's any mistaking it for ones made by their team, their typical director, their typical writer.
Sure.
So yeah, I don't know.
So it was distributed by Warner Brothers Animation under the Warner Premiere label, and they hold the rights to post-1974 Rankin and Bass stuff, which includes The Year Without a Santa Claus.
So they can do whatever they want.
Also remake it, I guess, into a live-action movie.
So let's talk about this live-action Year Without a Santa Claus, the film directed by Ron Underwood, who, at least for me, I mostly know him as the director of Tremors, which I absolutely love. And this one stars the one and only John Goodman, who I just had to rewatch Blues Brothers 2000, so John Goodman is kind of on my naughty list, but I thought he was really good in this. And then it's got, because we all want to know, it's got Harvey Fierstein as Heat Miser and Michael McKean as Snow Miser, but really, this movie lives and dies by Ian Suplee as Jingle, Eddie Griffith as Jangle, and Chris Kattan as Sparky, the elf who wants to take over Christmas and is a marketing genius.
I know I was being a little grinchy right before we started the broadcast, but I did not hate this movie either. And not only am I a fan of Ron Underwood, now I'm going to be a total Hollywood douchebag. I know Ron Underwood. And he's, I know him socially, and I also know him because he's directed episodes of shows that I've worked on.
And yet Ron Underwood's not here right now. Richard with the clout. Come on, man. Pull those. Come on. Pull those Hollywood strings. Aren't you the kingmaker? Aren't you the flavor maker in Hollywood? You just pull all the strings.
Yeah, Delta Burke ain't here either. Have you noticed?
Neither is John Goodman, to be fair.
Yeah. Michael McKean, Harvey Fierstein, Chris Kattan, not a sign of them. So that's the power I wield. But I agree with Mike. John Goodman was there were genuinely funny moments where I laughed out loud based on something that he did or possibly improvised or simply the way he did a line. I mean, he was pretty funny in this.
And also, I mean, again, as an actor, you know, it must be really rewarding to get to play Santa Claus because you can bring your own spin to it. I mean, for a character that is as, I guess, world known, it's just like, the character is so many things to so many people, but yet at the same time, It kind of means the same thing for everybody in a way. And you as an actor getting a chance to put your own spin on it, even if it is just a NBC, remake of a Rankin and Bass classic. I mean, I think John Goodman's the best part of this, without a doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they knew what they had when it came to this, and they said, yeah, Delta, you're not going to have the same role that Mrs. Claus had in the original stop-motion version of it. You're going to stick to the North Pole. You're not going to go down and see Jingle and Jangle, because Goodman, he is the star of the show.
Yeah, he was. I thought he was great, and I'll also tell you, I really, probably more than ever in any other role, I really enjoyed Chris Kattan.
Mm-hmm. I like Chris Kattan a lot. I think that he gets shit on for stuff that he shouldn't get shit on. I really like Corky Romano.
I was going to say Mike is a huge fan of Corky Romano.
I love his role in Monkey Bone.
Yes.
I think that he's one of the best parts of Monkey Bone, especially when, he shows up as this broken-necked gymnast, and the way that his head is flopping around is just amazing. I really like him. And I like him in this where he's a villain, but he's not dastardly. He's just wrong-headed, and he's driven by greed. And it's another one of those things where we're showing how Christmas can go wrong. So it's a nice way that, and it's not just all on the doctor this time. We talked about last time how the doctor's just a real douchebag. But in this, the doctor, he's okay, but Kattan is really the guy who's just like, oh no, we have to give this whole thing a makeover, which I appreciated, especially in this time. I think, where we have reboots and soft reboots of stuff all the time. Yeah, he wants to reboot Christmas.
Right. And and structurally you're correct. He's definitely, quote unquote, the villain, but almost only in name only. Like, he doesn't approach it like, I am a character ruled by avarice and greed and mischief and evil. He's more like, no, I'm just a guy doing my job, so he doesn't give you that sort of like, oh, every time he comes on screen, I have to accept that, he's the bad guy. He was like, it didn't occur to me even that he was the bad guy until like his final scene where he actually does try to take over the role of Santa. And even then I'm like, well, this is, no one's really worried. No one is being truly threatened by this guy. So,
but to your point though, Mike, this movie, as kind of timeless as a message as it has, it really dates itself, like horribly almost. I hate to break it to everybody, but in 2020, no one's thinking about Dr. Laura or Carson Kressley of all people or Jack LaLanne.
Oh.
Like, I mean, again, it's just
so happy to see Carson show up, though. He's one of my favorite judges on RuPaul's Drag Race.
I mean, Carson Kressley is great, but I think the issue is just like, it
would have been so fresh at the time.
Yeah,
it's that guy from Queer Eye.
Exactly, and now it's like hella dated. I'm just like, oh, Jesus Christ. Look, it's a Christmas movie, so you need, as far as I'm concerned, that's something that needs to be taken into account, is try not to date yourself too much if you're making a Christmas movie, because dating it makes it somewhat less timeless. I mean, something like Santa Claus, yeah, there's references and it's problematic in a lot of ways, but it still feels pretty timeless. But this is like very clearly rooted in like the mid 2000s, and it's not a problem as much as just like it can never get out from underneath how like mid 2000s early Hallmark Channel it kind of feels.
Right, but when that guy, and I think it was like the third line of the movie, says, I should have been a dentist.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I suddenly got so excited because I'm like, oh my God, really? Is this going to be the story of that character, Hermie the elf grown up? And I thought that was going to be a big part of it. And then they didn't go that way, which I would love to see that movie. But anyway, yeah, I do agree. That was super dated. And just to take a slight segue, I watched another really dated Christmas movie a couple nights ago. You know what it was?
Miracle
Die
on
Hard
34th
2.
Street?
Oh. Die Hard 2.
Yeah, Miracle on 34th Street is another good one. But Die Hard 2, I got to tell you, that movie is just, between the beepers and the faxes, it feels like it was made about 11 years before the first Die Hard.
I would like to point out once again, and I refuse to not come down on this stance, Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. Die Hard is a movie that takes place at Christmas. That doesn't mean it's a Christmas movie. I know that's like an unpopular opinion, but like I just don't get it. Like, it feels like it's a snarky answer to a really genuine question. What's your favorite Christmas movie? It's like Die Hard. Like, yeah, but like a movie about Christmas, like the Christmas season, not a movie that just happens to be set at Christmas, which is the framing device for the guy to show up to see his wife.
Okay, well then what about Home Alone?
I've never seen Home Alone, so I can't comment. Neither is Mike. So I think we actually talked about this on the last episode, or we've talked about it recently because Mike and I were in the same podcasting space together when someone said Home Alone, and we both answered, no, we haven't seen it. So,
oh my God, that's crazy because you're the generation. I'm shocked.
My generation is the generation that tries to make Die Hard into a Christmas movie.
I was 18 when Home Alone came out, so that boat had sailed. I was much more of a Edward Scissorhands type of person.
Yeah. We did, but Edward Scissorhands was not a Christmas movie.
I would say that it is.
Oh, maybe I need to go back and watch me some Edward Scissorhands.
I've never seen Edward Scissorhands. Does Christmas factor into the plot of Edward Scissorhands?
I think a little bit, and especially towards the end when he makes it snow in the town, much like how they make it snow in Southtown in this one. See, I'm trying to pull the conversation back, trying to pull it back.
Southtown definitely was a little bit less south than it was in the original. Let's put it that way. It's a lot less of snowing down in Dixie in this movie because there was no snowing down in Dixie.
But you notice that it was filmed entirely in Louisiana in the cities of Shreveport and Natchitoches.
Yeah, because you can see the Natchitoches sign in one of those shots, and I was like, "That is definitely a town in Louisiana."
Well, when was Hurricane Katrina? I'm wondering if this was made that was 2005. This was 2006, so they're probably cashing in on some of that Louisiana fund money with this.
I hadn't thought about that.
God, you're right. Damn.
And
That's probably also why they weren't. But they weren't in New Orleans. They were way far north. Because Shreveport's all the way up at the state line, so they were 5 hours away.
But trust me, I'm sure that John Goodman went down to some blues clubs and probably played, sang some blues down there.
With the rest of the cast of Blues Brothers 2000?
Yes. I do have to say I like Iggy a lot more in this version. He's not as much of a little shit. I actually care about the kid in this, which is weird because usually I hate little kids in movies. And I thought he was pretty good, and I like that his dad is so greedy. He's kind of a good dad. He's not mustache twirling, but it's like, hey, I got this business I got to take care of, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I can totally see that you have a lot of responsibilities, but at the same time, he's ditching his kid and his wife all the time. But I liked that Iggy. He wasn't like, oh, I doubt that Christmas exists. He wanted to believe in Santa Claus. So I was like, okay, that's pretty cool.
I mean, to be fair, Dylan Minnette is a very good actor. I mean, he's still acting, obviously. He was in that Netflix series, 13 Reasons Why. He was in that actually really good Goosebumps movie that they did a couple years ago. The first one, not the second one. And he's in the new Scream movie called Scream, which I'm sure drives Mike fucking nuts, as it does drive me nuts as well, because not only is it not Scream 5, it's just Scream, the same title of the first movie. I forget what that argument you were talking about, Mike, was, where the correct namings, but it just gets worse, apparently. We're just delving even farther, but I like Dylan Minnette a lot,
Chris,
so...
What you're not understanding is that it's called Scream, but the S is a 5, so
Right. Just like how the V in 7 is a 7, which makes no goddamn sense.
Actually, Richard, it is just called Scream. No 5 is an S or anything. It is like the Halloween that came out a couple years ago. It's intentionally annoying because fuck you, it is. Just like Halloween has technically come out 3 times now, because there was the first one, then there was the Rob Zombie one, and then there was the next sequel to the original one. So yeah.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't. So no one will look at the movie and think it's called 5 Cream.
This is what it feels like to chew 5 cream gum. 5 cream. But back to your point, Mike. It's. I mean, again, he's a good child actor, so that helps, right? I mean, I'm with you. I really can't stand children actors because most of the time they're not good.
They are often not good, but I definitely agree. This kid's really appealing, and it's so strange because I'm like, this kid seems really familiar, and then I kept forgetting to do the math that if this was 2006, anything I had seen him in where I would recognize him, he must have been a young adult. But yes, I saw 13 Reasons Why, thought he was great in that, but didn't make the connection until you mentioned it. So this kid gets our stamp of approval. Good actor, good kid actor, and playing a part that's not easy, but is sort of the heart of the movie.
Yeah. And I also appreciated that they didn't mistake a reindeer for a dog. That was kind of nice, too.
I was a little disappointed. I was a tad disappointed that they didn't.
I mean, I'm just pretty much pointing out the differences right now rather than talking about what it is, because being so familiar with the original, I can really only think of this in differences. But there are some different things. Like I said, Mrs. Claus stays at the North Pole. It's much more of a Santa story this time around. And the Miser Brothers, who obviously were very big hits from the first one, and we'll talk about their special in a little bit here, they show up at one point, and it's... I mean, the times that they show up are interesting, and I'm not sure if they're 100% successful, though I was happy to have the song again, and I was very happy to have Carol Kane as Mother Nature.
The only song in the film, I believe, which is a little strange given how many songs were in the first one.
Including Blue Christmas. I was waiting for that. When he got the big pile of letters dumped on him by Delta Burke, I was just like, oh, here comes the song. No.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that there was only one song because, again, like you mentioned, it's kind of what I would say is the song that the original is known for. At least it's a song that's been stuck in my head since I watched it again. I will say though that the version in this one is atrocious. It is real bad. I mean, Harvey Fierstein and Michael McKean. Yikes. I mean, yikes to Harvey Fierstein, which is kind of odd because I believe Harvey Fierstein has some Broadway experience.
Oh, yeah.
A lot?
He's got a lot of Broadway experience, and we know that Michael McKean is, one of the main founding members of Lenny and the Squig Tones, as well as some other band called Spinal Tap, I think.
Yeah. Listen to what the Flower People say. I'm a huge fan of that song. It's just weird because neither one of them feel like they're actually able to sing, but we know that they can.
Right.
This was super disappointing. When the Miser Brothers are the worst part of the movie, and they kind of were. Maybe that's because my expectations were so high, but man, when they showed up and started doing their thing, that sort of tear in my soul of, I love this song, and why are they making it suck so bad? Mm-hmm. And Michael McKean was making it suck, but Jesus, Lord in heaven, Harvey Fierstein is beyond atrocious every second he's on screen. And I'm not a non-fan of his. I like him. But boy, whatever he was deciding to do, and the makeup and the costume and every last thing about it was massively distracting, upsetting, and disappointing.
I usually like him so much, but when he's bad, he is really bad. I mean, just it's so often he falls into like the quirky gay guy, and it's just like, oh, for God's sakes, just
like an Independence Day.
You are. Thank you. You took that right out of my head.
Yeah, I know, because that's the role that I think of when you mention quirky gay character in a movie. That's the one that I think of. Oh yeah.
But then you watch like Torch Song Trilogy, and he's fucking fantastic in that movie. And it's like, why can't every Harvey Fierstein performance be the Torch Song Trilogy level of performance? When he shows up in like small things like Mrs. Doubtfire, it's like, okay, that kind of works. That's probably my favorite part of that movie, of that creepy fucking movie. But otherwise,
take him to task, Mike. That is a fucking weird movie.
Well, can you imagine how much better it would have been with Nathan Lane?
Possibly. I mean, Mrs. just the Doubtfire? Premise. Oh, or do you mean Nathan Lane as the Heat Miser?
That's the Heat Miser.
There you go. Okay.
I mean, I don't think even Nathan Lane could have saved it.
I thought you were talking about Nathan Lane in Mrs. Doubtfire as the not even the Harvey Fierstein role, as the Robin Williams role.
You know what the fucking insane thing is? Either way, it still kind of works.
Yeah.
I don't.
Right there with the birdcage.
Yeah, pretty much. It's I as much, Richard, as I appreciate your gusto to have someone other than Harvey Fierstein, I think this is below Nathan Lane's pay grade.
Oh, for sure.
At least his own imagined pay grade, if that makes sense. Which is a shame because, I mean, he could have helped a little bit, but yeah, Harvey Fierstein is just, he looks weird. He sounds weird. He's like trying to do an impersonation that doesn't land.
Well, yeah, and things don't work that should work. The makeup in this movie doesn't work on a level that is so shocking. And I don't notice this kind of stuff, but when you can literally look at an actor and within half a second go, fake nose, fake chin, fake ears, I mean, it didn't fool the camera at all. When the elves take their hats off and the points on their ears aren't even the same skin tone as the actors. And then worst of all, in a way, is John Goodman's beard, which is so blatantly fake. It literally looks like they bought it at a drugstore and hooked it around his ears. No time was spent on this. And again, this is typically not something that you notice in a film. And look, 2006 is not, 1961. This makeup should have been way better. And I'm sorry, I gotta throw that at Ron Underwood's feet. This was a big miss. The design and the application of this makeup was problematic.
It was real bad. Yeah, I mean, Harvey Fierstein is the worst offender, unfortunately. It's weird that they reference a lot of other Christmas movies in this movie, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which they technically don't own the rights to, and A Christmas Story.
Yeah, which that joke worked for me for a second, and then when Santa put his hand up over his eyes and it was just like, ow, I was like, just cut before that. What are you doing? Just say, you'll shoot your eye out, and that's it. That's all we need to hear. And then, of course, Andrea was like, was that the kid that played Ralphie? And I was like, no. The kid that played Ralphie, like, if you look at him these days, he's like a stud muffin. It's not that guy. So
no, you just have to go watch Iron Man?
Iron Man and Spider-Man Far From Home. But that's where he, like, shaved his head down so he looks like he's a old man with male pattern baldness. But, I mean, unless he's changed over the last few years. But I've seen a lot of pictures of Peter Billingsley where I'm just like, wow, this guy got hot when he got older.
It's a weird reference. It's a fucking weird reference. It's not good. Richard, what did you want to talk about? I interrupted you while you were saying something.
Well, I was going to say that the feeling I had most often in this movie was right when I was starting to like it, something would happen that would make me stop liking it. So I kept almost getting to the, all right, I'm into it. This is good, because I wanted it to be good. And then, I don't know, it's like a joke like you mentioned, or a particularly flat scene, or something, and I'd be like, oh God, maybe this is going down for the last time. Then the ending was heartwarming, and it sort of pulled out of a nosedive, I guess. But this one barely kept its head above water, entertainment-wise, for me.
I mean, the issue that I have with this movie is that while I did enjoy it, it doesn't really justify its existence. And that's a problem when you're remaking something that is, I think the three of us would definitely agree, something as memorable, as recognizable, as loved as the original Year Without a Santa Claus is. And if you're trying to reboot it or remake it, you need to justify your existence, and your existence doesn't justify itself by setting it in the mid-2000s, peppering it with like self-deprecating, weird, sarcastic humor that doesn't really fit with the tone, because the tone ultimately still is trying to be a heartwarming Christmas classic. And it doesn't really come off that way at times, like Richard just said. I'm very similar to you, Richard. I was on board, and then it does something where I'm just like, that's a really weird choice. And it doesn't, like, the film doesn't need some of those choices that they made.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about A Miser Brothers Christmas, which came out in 2008, so 2 years after The Year Without a Santa Claus remake. And this one is, I mean, it's not Animotion. I think it's animated, but it's animated in such a way to look like it's claymation or animation.
It is stop motion.
It is stop motion?
Cup of Coffee Studios in Toronto is a 2D animation and stop motion studio. I looked into it because I was wondering the same thing, because it looks, I mean, again, if you look at 74, which again this is somewhat piggybacking off of that other 74 special with the Miser Brother characters. You look at the stop motion or Animotion in that versus in this, holy shit, we've come a long way. A long way.
You've come so far that it almost doesn't make sense to even do it anymore, because it doesn't even have that sort of visceral charm. Like, if you had told me this was completely animated, and none of it existed physically ever, it was just done in that style to evoke that connection, I would totally believe it. And I don't think that's a good thing.
And this one was directed by Dave Thomas, not the Dave Thomas of Wendy's fame or of SCTV fame, but a animation director who has done a ton of stuff, surprisingly, including some of the new Animaniacs that are just coming out. And this one, they know how much we like that Miser Brothers song, because they are playing it constantly in this film.
They even redo it. They redo it with like with the version that I think is ostensibly like very close to what I would consider to be the perfect version of the song, where they're each singing each other's parts. I think is like a really like heartwarming version of the song. But yeah, it's a little much with that song. It's like, I like the song a lot, but after you watch this, you won't.
And it was nice that they brought back Mickey Rooney as Santa Claus. They had George S. Irving return as the Heat Miser. Unfortunately, the Cold Miser has passed on, so they had Juan Kyoren as the Snow Miser. I think he does a pretty good job of it. And yeah, it was, like I said, it was mostly nice because you got Mickey Rooney and George S. Irving to have that same continuity. The character design is a little much. I'm surprised that if they were doing this as stop motion, that they didn't try harder to get it closer to the original.
Heat Miser looks pretty close, but Frost Miser or Snow Miser looks fucking weird. Snow Miser looks like Bill Clinton. He looks like straight up blue Bill Clinton. I mean, it's like his nose is so much more exaggerated this time around that it's like chin. His face is literally a nose and a chin, and everything else is not important.
And this one, we are introduced to the whole family of Mother Nature. Apparently, she has children that are responsible for all natural phenomenon, including earthquakes, tides,
thunder and lightning,
and then the North Wind. Who talk about exaggerated. This guy, if you guys ever played Parappa the Rapper, he looks like Joe Chin. He's just got this crazy look to him. And he wants to take over the Santa Claus business, kind of like Sparky did in the live-action remake of The Year Without a Santa Claus.
Right, except this guy is clearly a villain, and in my opinion, not a very fun one. Like, really exaggerated and really just sort of by the book. Okay, he's just a bad guy. He wants attention, and he wants power, and he wants everything to be about him. And it's like, okay, scratch the surface and you just get more of the same. Uh-huh. And that made him, in my opinion, like kind of uninteresting and also unthreatening. There wasn't a lot. I mean, look, I'll tip my hand here. I didn't like this.
Like at all, or just in general?
This thing, like, something about it to me got off on the wrong foot and never got back on the right one. Like, I couldn't figure out, it's going to sound stupid, but I just couldn't figure out what the movie was about. And by the end, it was sort of like, oh, okay, they sort of come around to the only possible place you could come around to, which is these brothers should be friends. But if you're going to do that, like, why not start the movie with them not getting along for some other reason than I'm hot and I'm cold? Like, there were it felt like there were almost no new cards turned over about either of these characters. And it like, we weren't suddenly immersed in details of their lives in a way that enriched them, I thought. The other siblings didn't even get one or two decent jokes based on whatever gimmick they had. It just seemed like it seemed like no one was into this. From the director to the writer to the actors, no one really was excited about doing this. So somebody had a gun to their head or a contract to fill, and that's how this thing happened.
Well, that's weird because that's what it says in the trivia. It says that director Dave Thomas was held at gunpoint until he signed the contract. The man said that either your brains or your signature are going to be on this contract.
Or otherwise I'm going to stick you in the balls with some ice picks. Tommy DeVito style. Or no, I'm going to get the Snow Miser to come over here with a couple icicles, and he's going to poke you in the balls with them. All right, if you don't make this movie, I'm going to have the Heat Miser. He's going to blast your nuts off, okay? All right, fine. And they send him on your way. Richard's distaste for this movie is palpable. Jesus, it's filling the room. I mean, I get it. I mean, to your point, Richard, the characters of Heat Miser and Snow Miser are the same characters at the beginning that they are at the end. I never for once really believed in either the original or the live-action remake or in this squeakquel spin-off thing that they actually hate each other. It's like sibling rivalry. Like, they never make me believe they actually don't like each other.
Or that there's any other dimension to it than it's like, oh, these brothers don't like each other because one is thin and one is fat, or one is tall and one is short, or one wears glasses and the other. It's like, really? So we're not. That's it. It's just, I hate you because you're hot. I hate you because you're cold, and it's like, what the fuck?
Wow.
But I will say though, with all of the contempt that I'm heaping upon this, don't forget, I'm the guy. I stood up for Little Drummer Boy. I went to bat for Nestor. I've opened my heart to these movies, but boy, this one was a firm kick in my heart's nuts.
Get your dick out of your heart, Richard.
You're not the first guy to say that.
Mike, you didn't dislike it this much, did you?
I didn't dislike it this much. And, I mean, to your point from earlier as far as do they hate each other, it just feels like that joke from the Smothers Brothers that they're recycling, the mom always liked you best kind of thing. And it feels like that type of sibling rivalry to me. But no, I didn't hate this one, which really surprised me. I was all set, and maybe that's what it was, that my expectations were so low that I was like, this is going to be just an abomination, and they're going to make me hate these guys. I don't know. I didn't dislike it. I always find it a little creepy that all of these people have little versions of themselves running around, so you get to see like all the little snow misers and all the little heat misers making toys and
which
stuff. Which
is never explained, by the way.
Yeah, it's so weird. And then the ones for the North Wind, which they make like weird little noises when they're sabotaging Santa's sleigh. I'm just like, oh, they're kind of creepy. But yeah, I mean, to talk about the plot a little bit more, I gave you the whole gist of it, that the North Wind wants to take over Santa's business. But
and for some reason, the North Wind is the first in line if Santa can't work?
Yeah, which seems weird. You would think there would be like Mrs.
Mother
Claus, yeah, Mrs. Claus, Mother Nature, Speaker of the House, and then North Wind, Yeah.
No. You guys didn't know, but the North Wind, that's also a contract signed at gunpoint.
So he sabotages Santa, and Santa's out of the picture for a little while, and so then Mother Nature's like, hey, my boys are to blame, and so she gets them to start making toys, which are just shitty toys. Like, here's an ice teddy bear, which will either give you like frostbite touching it, or will melt before it even gets to your kid's front door, kind of thing. But so yeah, they have to get along. Eventually, they do get along via a flashback of why they hated each other, which was a weird thing. And then eventually,
baby Frost Miser and Snow Miser isn't weird to you?
That was a little strange to me. They almost looked like Aardman characters at that point. I was waiting for Snow Miser to pull out his passy and be like, "Cheese grommet." And eventually, when they're getting along, the North Wind comes along and says, listen, I'm going to screw this up again. And eventually, surprise, surprise, all things work out in the end. The bad people are punished, North Wind is punished, and the Snow Miser and Heat Miser get along. So you can learn from your mistakes and move on with your life.
I'm with you, Mike. I didn't dislike it as much as Richard did, but similarly to the last thing we watched, I have a hard time understanding why this thing exists. If it exists because you love the original special, I understand, as I'm sure we all do. We all love the original special. As far as I'm concerned, The Year Without a Santa Claus checks all the boxes. That for me, I mean, that's probably my favorite of these original Rankin and Bass, because it has everything, and the Snow Miser and the Frost or the Heat Miser are so memorable characters. But this just doesn't justify its existence. It's just another weird story about someone trying to stop Christmas. And how many of these have we seen now? Like
a couple, a lot.
Yeah, it's weird to me. It's weird to me, and I like the characters of Snow Miser and Heat Miser, but man, give them something more to do, because you pretty much had them just be the same characters they were in the original. They didn't grow at all.
When you take two of the most beloved characters, and they've got a great song, like don't drop the ball. Take it to the next level. And here's the thing, Mike, you were talking about your expectations going in and that they were so low. And I guess you can tell mine were kind of high. I'm like, oh, great. Now it's just them. The best part of that one special is now going to be the special. This is actually going to be a lot of fun. And then I was immediately disabused of that notion. So I guess it may have been a problem of expectation. If I'd walked in with slightly more diminished expectations, maybe I would have liked it more.
And unlike the other specials, which for no reason were casting a ton of Canadian actors, this one makes sense why it cast Canadian actors. I mention that only because I was talking with a friend of mine, Tim, who lives in Canada, and we were talking about this podcast, and he mentioned that the originals have a kind of weird connection to Canada. And Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, like half or 2/3 of that cast is all Canadian. So including the woman who plays the voice of Rudolph. So there you go. It's this one makes sense why they're all Canadian, but this could have stayed in the Great White North cooked a little bit longer in the oven, because it just feels underbaked. I wouldn't have had any problem with this special. I mean, I think we all would have been elated to see a special about the Miser Brothers, one of the best parts of the Year Without Santa Claus. But I came away with it just wondering, like, what did we learn here? Even if this is a story for kids, what did kids learn? Don't be mean to your siblings. It's a Christmas miracle.
It would have been nice had we explored some of the other characters other than the North Wind and been like, hey, here's Thunder and Lightning helping out, and here's the Tides or something like that, and just like been in that world a little bit more. More songs would have been nice, like
memorable
the Thunder
songs.
and Lightning song, yeah.
It's it's funny to me when you look at something like this that is based on two characters, and it's going to be a little bit of a stretch, I promise. It'll make sense, though. So, Miser Brothers are the best part of The Year Without Santa, similarly to the way a character that has essentially lived off of its reputation alone, like Boba Fett has, and now you have a show actually addressing that character and doing something with it, and you have this not addressing the characters at all and just throwing them into the mix and saying, it's good enough that they're here, we got one of the actors to come back. That's not good enough. Especially not in 2008. I mean, again, this is being made by people who theoretically love the original. And while I appreciate that they did love and care to get it to look like the original animation style, the story part of it, which is the half of the expectations with these, is you're going to be told a memorable story. It's just not there. It's just not there.
Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I also want to thank Abby Stabby for our artwork, as well as the Great Octopus for our theme music. Be sure to subscribe to subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. We'll be back to talk about the one time that Frosty the Snowman and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer met as we wrap up this season of Rankin' on Bass next week.